My dear friends, welcome to 𝗏𝗏𝗃. We are discussing respiratory system infections, and in the respiratory tract infections, we are in second class discussing about the organisms causing lobar pneumonia. Now, pneumonia means what? Pneumonia means you have got the infection in lungs. So, infection in lungs is called as pneumonia, and this infection in lungs can cause pneumonitis, and pneumonitis will be the inflammation, right? So, why did I say this? In order to just clear a confusion that sometimes people say that there is something which is called as chemical pneumonia. So, that's not an acceptable terminology, my dear friends. Chemical can cause pneumonitis but not pneumonia, because pneumonia is something that is reserved term for infections. That's why now we will start with the lobar pneumonia. The organisms causing lobar pneumonia mainly, I am stressing mainly, are Hemophilus influenza and of course Streptococcus pneumoniae, the typical pneumonia. I am talking about the typical pneumonia. There are some atypical organisms also which we are going to discuss in the subsequent sessions, but typical pneumonia is caused by influenza and Streptococcus pneumoniae. My dear friends, Streptococcus we have already discussed in detail. The link I will provide you in description. Just go there and watch it, because that's immensely important if you are studying for your respiratory system exam. Now in this video we will discuss about Hemophilus influenza, because that's amazingly important, extremely important, Hemophilus influenza. Let's start without further ado. Hemophilus influenza is a small organism, is a pleomorphic organism, which is a gram-negative cocobacilli, gram-negative cocobacilli. So these details I have discussed with you in the general bacteriology lecture, where we have discussed about the gram staining in the stain class. So these are small organisms, pleomorphic organisms. Then you have gram-negative cocobacilli. What are the growth requirements? Hemophilus influenza, see, very simply I am telling you, Hemophilus influenza, I treat him like a man, he. Hemophilus influenza, he. So first of all, you should know that Hemophilus influenza wants to grow. Just like any man, any other man, Hemophilus influenza also wants to grow. And how he will grow? How do you judge a person by the growth? Mostly people judge a person by the amount he is earning. So he earns in 500 rupee note or 1000 rupee note. This is the way to remember. So what I mean to say is, factor 5 is required for the growth, factor 10 is required for the growth. So Hemophilus influenza requires some factors. Just keep in your mind that it requires some factors, factor 5 and factor 10, and alphabetically H comes before N. Factor 5 is going to be called as, yes, not alphabetically, but factor 5 is called as NAD and factor 10 is called as Hemin. Okay. So remember this is very, very, very important, that factor 5 is called as NAD, whereas factor 10 is called as Hemin. Okay. Just to remember, you can remember like that, that 10, if I put on 10, that becomes 100, and H for 100 and H for Hemin, whereas factor 5 is called as NAD. What is the culture media? Yes, culture media. So all the he's find the love, right? All the he find the love. So all the he find the love. Find means F for Fields Agar and L for Leventhal Agar. Okay. So F for Fields Agar, L for Leventhal Agar. Okay. And then when they find the love, obviously the girlfriend says no. The boyfriend sits in the satellite and go to the space. This is a poorest form of satellite one can make, but anyways, okay, going. So it shows what? It shows satellitism. It shows what? It shows satellitism. That means what happens, see here, I will teach you. For example, this is a media which is full of blood agar. So, this is a media full of, one second, yeah, full of what? Full of blood agar. So, because it is full of blood agar, obviously it is having blood and blood is having this RBC. So, what happens? We call Staph aureus, Staph aureus comes and Staph aureus kills the RBC because Staph aureus is beta hemolytic, if you remember. So, once the RBC is killed, it leads to the release of factor number 10, that is called as hemin. And once this factor 5, that is called as NAD, it leads to the release of factor 5, and factor 5 is something that is required for the growth of Staph aureus. Okay. So, that is why beta hemolysis releases factor 5. So, if I am watching an organism growing around the Staph aureus colonies, it is going to be which one? Most probably Hemophilus influenza. What is the virulence factor of Hemophilus influenza? So, Hemophilus influenza has got a capsule, has got IgA protease, has got villi, has got LOS and LPS. These all are important, and I think you have read all these virulence factors somewhere else also. Comment down in the comment section that in which organism you have read all these. Okay. So, it has got capsule, it has got IgA, it has got LOS, it has got LPS, right. So, from the very first class I have told you, whenever capsule comes, please recite this poetry, AVSM for capsule, right. So, what does this AVSM stands for? A for antiphagocytic, V for virulence, that means it is immunogenic, virulence. Actually, that does not mean it is immunogenic, but yeah, immunogenicity you can remember by virulence. S for different serotypes. So, Hemophilus influenza has got many serotypes and it is responsible for producing the mucoid colonies. Responsible for producing what? Mucoid colonies. And in order to help Hemophilus influenza to have the mucosal colonization, there is IgA protease which helps in the mucosal colonization. Villi for any matter is for the adhesion only. LOS is endotoxin, LPS is responsible for inflammation. These 5 things you have to keep in mind, very important. Okay, right. So, I think there is no problem. So, how to remember all these things? When we were discussing this organism, which I want you to comment and tell me, that time I used a different mnemonic. Now, I will give you some different mnemonic, that is called as pickle. So, P for villi, I for IgA protease, C for capsule, L for LOS and LPS, and you can remove E. Okay. So, what are the diseases caused by H. influenzae? Again the mnemonic is poems. Now, so you can tell me ki Hemophilus influenza and which other organisms are closely related. So, P for pneumonia, O for otitis media, E for epiglottitis, M for meningitis, S for sinusitis. This is it. Rest all things are actually something which you can remove, not very important. So, yeah, okay, yes. Coming on to the other details, what is the laboratory diagnosis? So, yeah, I have told you Hemophilus influenza. You can take the CSF blood sample, the respiratory secretions, depending upon the disease it is causing. Like for example, if it is causing meningitis, take CSF sample. Okay. If it is causing the otitis media, then you have to check for the abscess, ear abscess and everything. Yeah. So, what you will do, gram stain and culture. I always teach it like this and people say, sir, आपने लिखा था gram stain positive. नहीं, मैंने लिखा है gram stain and culture we are using. Okay. Then antigen detection by latex. This is again important. And ELISA and PCR have got the sensitive. I mean ELISA and PCR also sensitive. Now, this seems to be a little important. Latex agglutination is actually very important. I just give this mnemonic. Some people sometimes feel offended also, ki, sir, why do you give this mnemonic? But my prime goal is that you people should remember it for a long time. This material is used by 𝗏𝗍, that means he, that means boys. That's it. I'll not speak anything. Okay. After that, coming on to the treatment part. So, Hemophilus influenzae, the treatment is ceftriaxone. The chemoprophylaxis for the context is also ceftriaxone, right? So, ceftriaxone is given for Hemophilus influenzae. This is important, right? What is the vaccine there? HIB, Haemophilus influenza B conjugate vaccine. Haemophilus influenza B conjugate. Now, what do you mean by conjugate? Conjugate means it has got various serotypes, which I already told you that the Haemophilus influenza, because it is having capsule has got AVSM S for different serotypes. And similarly, one is HIB conjugate vaccine, that is given for less than 2 years child, and for more than 2 years child you are going to give what? Polysaccharide vaccine. Polysaccharide vaccine for more than 2 years. Less than 2 years, more than 2 years. Okay. So, Haemophilus influenzae is that much only, whereas now we will discuss Haemophilus ducreyi. Although the Haemophilus ducreyi is for the sexually transmitted diseases, but since we are discussing Haemophilus, we will cover the Haemophilus ducreyi here. Don't worry, whenever I will teach sexually transmitted disease, I will give just a reference and the link of this video in that description, so that you can come from there to here and rewatch this. So, Haemophilus ducreyi, the disease which is caused is called as chancroid, and that is a painful genital ulcer. So, Haemophilus, do you cry? Haemophilus ducreyi, do you cry? So, Haemophilus says yes. I said why? She says or he says that it is a painful genital ulcer. So, the cry is because of painful. See here, mnemonic I have written ducreyi, that means it's a painful ulcer. Now, why it is crying? Because it has to go to the school. So, school of fish appearance. School of fish appearance. Okay, so one is stream of fish appearance. You will tell me. I was about to write the answer, but anyways, stream of fish appearance is seen in which organism? Comment in the comment section below. But yes, school of fish appearance, yes, of course it is important, that is for Haemophilus. So, everybody used to cry while going to school, na? So, school of fish has Haemophilus ducreyi. So, what does this mean? That just like the school line, the arrangement is a linear one. Just like the 2 tracks of the railroad, railway road has got 2 tracks, so it is also called as railroad track arrangement. So, you can remember from the school of fish the railroad track appearance also. Clear? So, this is responsible for causing chancre, that is a painful chancre. Okay, that is it. Do not remember this soft chancre. Okay, remember. Okay, the shaft of the penis, shaft of the penis is going to have soft chancre. The ducreyi is good because ducreyi means D for ducreyi and D for deca. So, DD is important, that means it requires only and only factor 10 for the growth. And the treatment for Haemophilus ducreyi is azithromycin. Azithromycin is the treatment. Okay, clear? So, azithromycin is the treatment for Haemophilus ducreyi. This marks the end of the Haemophilus. We have discussed the lobar pneumonia also. Thank you so much. But one thing I would like to tell you, that this was about the typical organism causing the lobar pneumonia. In the next sessions, we will discuss the atypical organisms causing the lobar pneumonia. Thank you so much for joining. God bless you. See you in the next video.